Okay, thank you very much. So, I am very happy to be here to speak about one topic, commons-based currency. That's a model where I will present you, which is not really yet implemented fully, but we have done different studies and different proposals how to do that. I'm talking a little bit about the task and the methodology, short view back in the history, and then of course the question, what is this district currency? And then we have the case of the cooperative housing and a small introduction into the game which we had developed. Just to mention that possibly the most complementary currencies start with a exchange, and they from person to person or from entity to entity, and it's always taken as a bilateral exchange. And this is important to mention because there are other kinds of other forms of exchange. Oh, no, it was wrong. So, this individual exchange goes to individual demands and offers, and is de facto methodological individualism, or if we're a little bit hard, it's still a neoclassical and market ideology. It's maybe a bit tight, what I say, but well, it's like it's always about individuals or time banks, and the WEIR is also about entities. There's a bank, there's a central institution, but it's not thought about to be a commons-oriented currency. Yes, so what about the common tasks? That's the main questions. Maybe we will have a look at that. If we do that, if we do a currency on that with that idea, we get the difficulties type 1. I named them because that's the competition, and competition is always some people will fit in the competition and will win, and others will lose, and the winners will take it all. As we have, then the imbalances will increase. That's the thing. And competition, of course, has an advantage. It brings in a lot of energy. Everybody has to move. Everybody has to run. That's the point. That's the other very important exchange we did not mention so much is about the commonwealth. So, for example, we have somebody made this place, cleaned it, polished it, and prepared it for us. So there was one person working for all of us, and we cannot really say, well, who was she working for? Was this cleaning for me or for you or for whom? So how shall we pay her or him? There are other such lot of such topics which are community, the police or any state functions, or many of the state functions are like providing services for everybody. And of course this is a multilateral exchange, so everybody gets the profit, and how everybody should get it back by contribution or by money. That's a good question. So we have a completely different approach here. That's of course about the commonwealth or the commons, and the sustainability and management of these commons. Community exchange is more like in a heterodox or maybe in the state theory of money. There are some aspects of this, or like commons ideology, if we have such things. In a complementary currency examples, there are not so many examples. We have heard in the morning that the governments or the cities or towns start to prepare their currencies, but only very few of them, I think one or two, really start with paying, for example, community work. That would be exactly one point how to do that. They like to foster trade between businesses or something like that. It is still the other system. So there are not so many. Then the idea was to develop a new type of currency, starting with these common tasks. What kind of difficulties are here? Difficulties type 2. This is the free riding, of course. This is the main problem here. And the activity, how do you say, the very energetic activity level of the system before is here, maybe going to another activity to avoid activity. That's the problem of here. Yeah, you can. Yeah, somebody cleaned here. Okay, what shall I do? I have to pay for this. Oh, sorry, I will. I leave. So that's the a little bit focused, or maybe a little bit exaggerated, the two systems. Well, as I looked around for community-oriented or commons-based currencies, I went back to the history, to this famous town of Wörgl. Most of you, if you have studied the complementary currency, you've heard about. But many times it's not so well researched or not so well taken into account that this really was absolutely common-based by the town council paid common work. That was how the money get into circulation. The workers bought food. The shop owners then of the food shops paid taxes. So this was in short around the circle of Wörgl. And of course these numbers, maybe you heard them already, with a monetary stock of around 6,000 shilling. There was work done for 180,000 shillings for the town, and it has an incredible high handover or velocity. That was, of course, because then this really dramatic shortage of money was causing this. But anyway, it's only to say that the effects were dramatic. So the idea was to create, or the methodology, I didn't talk about that, was like to create something and then to see if it would fit or if it would help to have such a commons-based currency. And then, as you maybe a little bit hear about, we have a recursive research process. So the theory was put afterwards to help to explain it. Maybe it doesn't fit all at the moment. It's also work in progress. Okay, this district currency, we named it because we like to build it on a local level. Would be collective self-help, so we would not start with a government or already existing authority. We could, the main focus was a cooperative, or to have a cooperative, which is as a basic idea of a cooperative is economic self-help. So this self-help should be in the center. And all the things the cooperative has to do together could also seen as a commons, and to manage that commons, this currency, which I will explain afterwards, should provide democratic decision making and budgeting, should balance the contributions and remuneration. That's important because of this free riding problem. You always have people working a lot and others just being there and having the profit in such social systems. And of course it also should help the sustainability issue. And we thought about the closed circle economy. That's of course if you have a non-convertible money, it's usually the case anyway. And the formula, it's derived from from the early centuries, early 20th century monetary theories, which have a little bit vanished after. That total of services and products contributed, the production is total of purchased services and products as the basis of the monetary system. In fact, it could be it is maybe the basis of every monetary system, but we will explicitly take it here as our goal. And here I'm very sorry, but I'm lacking a nice program to draw this, and I was a bit short on time. Maybe somebody has a nice a hint where I can get a better program. Anyway, the idea is we have a body. We need to, for this type of currency, we need to have a body. For example, a cooperative. So the people are explicitly dedicated. Yes, I will contribute here, and then this has a commons assembly. So the whole organization, of course, is as a democratic entity has a commons assembly, which is talking about the budget. So, and the budget, what does a budget mean? It means what do we like to do, or what do we like to have? And of course, then you can monetize these tasks, and then you have the budget. This is the regular idea. And then, if the community decides, okay, what shall we have to do? We can, for example, do we like to have a clean room this month? Okay, we agree. So then somebody, of course, has to do that. And then the tasks, what do we like to have to do, goes to like maybe an entity, a commons commission, I call this, with a job desk, who then, of course, looks after who is doing these jobs or these tasks. And the budget goes to the cash desk or maybe bank, and they hand it over to the Commons Commission in order to fulfill all these tasks. This job desk, then the members apply for jobs, do the work, and get the currency for that. And with this currency, they either can go to other members, like businesses, which don't take jobs, which have their business and buy something. They can go to other members which don't participate and give and buy there something. And at the end, we have this backflow. And what's that? And maybe I will. What could it be? The backflow to. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, of course, the community has decided to have more comfort, to have clean rooms, to whatever, and for that comfort, everybody pays a tax, and so we don't have the free riding directly here. Everybody pays a tax. Of course, this can be differentiated or whatever. So this is the basic system, and for the management, you can say in and out should be balanced. So in one period, everything is given out, all money is given out, has to come back by taxes. Of course, this is only like a general thing, but in practice, this would, of course, is not always possible and has to have some flexibility. Yes?
Are all the arrows currency?
Yes, the arrows.
Except the cost and amount.
Yes, this is only the directives. These are like the directives from the yes, from the assembly, and the monetary system is only below here. There is clear. Okay. To make it a bit more elaborated, of course, such a system might need more bodies to be really balanced. For example, a monitoring center, which is like seeing, for example, if the members have to clean this room, who punishes them, for example, if they don't do it or if they do it very badly or whatever. So you have to have some monitoring. Maybe if they are punished, they will apply for no, I did it, and so maybe you need some mediation. And this is, of course, this is derived from Ostrom's laws of the commons, where you have one law is saying you have to make you have to have a conflict resolution system, and of course you have to have a monitoring of the commons of the task, because otherwise, after a short time, everybody will do whatever. And maybe there is another entity, a funds management. You have to have buffer in this system, different things, because if you have a circle that's all months is money out and all money in, then yes, in reality it has to have buffers, and for example, because not the whole year is the same, and so on and so on. This is more a little bit more to tell you that this we worked on that to make it a bit more elaborated. So that's the model in rough. And what was the main target? The main target cooperative was the cooperative housing. So we had in Zurich there is a big movement of new housing cooperatives, which are quite interested in future-oriented ideas and sustainable living, and one of them we see here. The picture is the Kalkbreite, which is a really interesting case. And there is another one, Mehr als Wohnen, where we had it's more than 1,400 people, and that was the idea there, to implement a system which is helping the cooperative to foster their work and their whole system. And because you have so many people, the direct relation is very difficult, and therefore a monetary system can help to help yeah, thank you. And so, but we didn't succeed to be able to implement it there at the moment, or until now. There are still discussions, and there is a group of tenants, of members of the cooperative, trying to get this model. But of course, the big issue is, if you would implement it as a full model, that means every member of the cooperative has the duty to participate. And in today's times, this is a bit difficult in the aftermath. If you come before, if you say, okay, we have a new cooperative, everybody that enters has to accept this condition, then it's much easier. Okay, what's about the time? Am I still in time? Yeah, more or less. Okay, the cooperative housing. And so the difficulty was, what shall we do now? We have a nice model, we don't have an implementation. And then the idea with the games arised, that we make a simulation games which really have the nice, interesting idea of this money, and show the people participating how it works, and also are an instrument for us to have some research questions answered, as some behavior of the people in the game could be monitored, or some comments or flaws or whatever could be detected. So we created the district currency game called it's a planning game which will take place on Saturday here. You can have an insight. It's needs about 3 or 4 hours, because we we will play different rounds, and there's a role play, of course, and there is decision taking, and there's all this stuff here, and that's a method. We did it already, well, for 2 years. Now the game is developed, fully developed, we can say, and yes, has given some interesting insights also, and yeah, helps to improve our thing. Yeah. So then I thank you very much. See you maybe at on Saturday at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Okay, some time for questions, but short time.
Thanks a lot. This is very interesting. I'm at the moment writing a PhD proposal around very similar things, also simulation techniques for behavioral research. Is there academic research done on what you're doing?
The academic research we are just doing now, but the results are not published. No, we are still. Of course, the game tomorrow on Saturday will also be part of it. So, yes, yeah, you can help us. Yes. We could also need some help. That's true. Yeah.
My question is quite short. I'm just curious how what is the idea of using a currency in this community, which is about 1,000 people or less?
Well, the idea is that in such a housing cooperative, the people they are members of a cooperative, but the level of membership is very low. And the idea is one idea is to activate, integrate, and let's participation of them. And the second idea I didn't mention is, of course, we can by having this system, we can substitute, if we are really good, we can substitute a part of the normal money, of the normal economy, by this money. And this is an important thing. You could even lower your cost for housing or do it have another resource for instead of banking money as you have normally. So this is one idea. Of course, yes, there are shops there.
I just want to just because it's related to this. One of the things when you were saying that you had problems in the housing cooperative because not all members wanted to become part of it or join the system. I was going to tell you as a comment that maybe the solution is that the community costs, however, this amount of Swiss francs per month, and you can pay also in the cooperative money. So the ones who don't contribute, they pay cash, and the ones who want to contribute with their work, then they don't have to pay cash. They pay with their work.
Exactly. That's the idea. You don't have to have a full installation. You can also have a partial installation.
So the district currency, is it a mutual credit system, or is it an amount of units of exchange which are backed by some guarantee fund in Swiss francs? Because I think that would affect the return flow, the tax aspect.
Well, this is a good question. It's interesting because in the small sense, or in the in the strong sense, it's not a mutual credit, because usually mutual credit is between two parties, and this is a multilateral system. And the backing, of course, we have a backing in case of the housing cooperative. They have a real estate and house. This is the backing, because in the end, if the money is gone out and they would say, oh, stop, we don't like it, then the cooperative anyway could transfer it via their rents or something into back into to nothing. But it's somehow, so we called it commons-based currency to distinguish. It's well, it's somehow different in some aspects.
That's the commons.
That's the commons, yeah. But you could also put it to other commons. It's possible to have other commons.
I think they're mainly talking about the commons of the services, because the housing is just the infrastructure, and then the idea is to provide services for the members of the.
Yeah, there was a technical aspect of the backing itself.
Two things. I don't think mutual credit is a one-to-one exchange. That's why you have a currency. So you give to one member, then they can give to another member. So it's not a swap. That's the whole point of having a currency. Secondly, I just want to ask if this is if the decision to bring in such a system has to be brought in democratically. Do you have to get all the members to agree to do it in principle, even if they don't want to participate? Would they vote on it, or can the management just say, this is what we're going to do?
Also good questions. Of course, all the members as a cooperative is to be decided by all the members. They have to, but of course they can say, not we integrated, we do it, but not everybody has to contribute, as Susanna explained, or we have different degrees of contribution or whatever. So there is a flexibility in the model. There are some limitations, of course. If the level of commitment is too low, then it will not function. But you can have quite a big flexibility here.
So I understand that the funding for the commons is from taxation of all the participants in the community, correct? So is there a mechanism to ensure that taxation is reduced progressively, so that with the goal to eventually not have any cost at all?
Yes, of course. I didn't mention it very clearly, but the budgeting is a regular process. So every 6 months or every year at least, you have to define a new budget, and you have to correct it. For example, if the people have worked more efficiently, or if there is not so much work to do, then of course the tax will immediately follow this. The tax depends on how much work and how much you spend. And if you don't spend so much, or if you can save, then the tax is reduced immediately.
Yeah, just a short hint, a comment. I would say for this case here, maintenance the commons, the classic literature in our field is a contribution by Stephen de Moilenaar and Bernard Lieter about traditional commons in Bali, where people either have to provide a service or pay some money into the common account. That's the one thing. Virgil is slightly different because these are public utilities, and I would also warn it didn't really work that way because the rates were not enough. So be careful when you touch Virgil without going into the details.
Thank you. Just a quick question about the periodicity of tax collecting. If you have got 1,400 people using it and hundreds of shops and free markets, how do you know where the money has gone in the free market, and how do you go pick them up at the end of the period? If it's not digital, I mean. If it's digital, then that's it.
Well, that's that problem we hand over to the individuals. Of course, they have to. There is I don't know. Maybe we have a 6 months taxing period, and at the end of these 6 months, or each individual, or how we defined it, has to have enough on his account or in his pocket to pay this tax. there are, of course, some regulations. What happens if he hasn't it, or what happens if somebody is not able to work, and so on and so on. But in general, each person has to, as it is in the normal system, has to see that its account is full.
I mean, there are two types of free market.
Yes.
The companies that operate inside the cooperative